All right. Welcome, everybody. Today we are visiting with Tiffany, and Tiffany is in top tier. She is part of the crew, part of the family. And we just figured we would ramble about a few things and discuss kind of maybe some of the misconceptions about TCs, what we're seeing of where the TC and creative TCs are at currently, and kind of where we're hoping that they'll end up, and kind of how we hope to see them progress. Um, so, what would you say, Tiffany, to start us off? What would you say is kind of like the biggest misconception you're seeing out there in talking to investors and people, whether they're in the community or outside of it, just kind of all around?
Well, first off, Avita, thank you for having me.
Yes, of
Um,
course.
yes. Okay. So to answer your question,
Yeah.
the most common misconception I get is that your TCs will help you write your contract, draft your contract, and then we can give
Yes.
you legal advice
Right.
and we can help you do your underwriting. So, like, I think those are the biggest ones.
Yeah, I would
And those
agree.
are all services that, we really don't do. And so I always have conversations with investors to clarify this, that we as TCs, we have a very, specific role in the transaction we facilitate, but we're not lawyers. We don't have that
Right.
insurance, right? And then like in terms of the contracts, like by helping you draft your contracts, that all of a sudden makes me like legally tied to, this transaction. If anything were to come up in the future, litigations, like, and they came back and said, hey, like this looks fishy. Like who wrote this contract? Oh,
Yeah.
Tiffany did. Wait, what?
Yeah.
Dude, this is your sub two transaction. You told me what you wanted. I'm just helping you get it to the finish line. But the fact that I helped write that contract all of a sudden makes
Right.
me like, legally
Well, and
involved.
essentially, it risks your whole business, right?
Yeah.
Because I mean, if you think about it, for the amount somebody's paying you, we don't have the same profession or abilities as you would going to an attorney or someone of that nature, of getting a title company to help you fill out these documents or getting an attorney to draft it. Those people are professionals in that field. Our profession is more of coordinating, communicating, and in those ways kind of facilitating what's occurring. And I do think there is a clear separation there of this person has gone to school and learned the ins and outs, and they're studying this, and you know that's also why they're going to charge accordingly, because they're paying for that insurance, and they have those abilities and that knowledge to back them up. And that's not to take away from our value. It's just simply saying, for a couple $100 or even 1,000 or two, would you risk your business? Would you
Right,
risk
right.
everything? And
And
I think
like
most would agree, no. But yet that's kind of essentially what people are asking us to do, and without any partnership, ownership in the deal, nothing, to just, and you figure as you build your business, someone looks at it, and I feel like, I don't know if you've heard this, but I feel like all commonly you're like, well, it's just like you're just helping me out. Okay, but if some of these transaction coordinators, I mean, the amount of files you're doing on a weekly, monthly basis, if you're doing, if you have a team, it even goes up, but say you're doing 20, 30 files a month, me just helping you once, I mean, over the course of a year, think about that paper trail of everybody that I just helped. That's just leading to a bigger case of somebody to get upset or come back or find my name on it for something that really doesn't fall within the grounds of what I'm offering. That's not the service.
yeah, like at the end of the day, you want to be able to sleep at night, right? And
Yeah,
having
absolutely.
having yourself in this risky position through like, 30 files does not help you to sleep at night, right? And
No.
like going back to your point, like
Sure.
lawyers are paid this as lawyers because they have that license. As an
Right.
investor, you are taking on more risk, but you're also making a lot more money. The average assignment fee is like
Right.
$10,000, right?
Correct.
Real estate agents are making like 3% of the purchase price. Like everyone's making the big bucks. We are not making the big bucks, right?
Right.
Like a sub two transaction, for me costs $1,000, right?
Right.
Compared to like 10 times that for
Yeah.
an investor. Like I don't want to put myself in that situation for that
No,
for that pay, right?
absolutely. I think
And
that's actually, sorry, go ahead.
oh no, I was just gonna go back to like also the negotiation part of it. Like
Hmm.
that's another thing that I always like. There's like there's a line where TCs are and where the investors' responsibilities are, and the
Right.
negotiation part is part of the contracts, right? It's part of the drafting of the contract, and so that should be the investor's job. But I get
Yes.
a lot of times investors kind of saying, "Hey, can you talk to them about this? Can you just help me
Yeah.
like relay this?" And I'm just thinking like,
Yes.
can I? Yes, but does that make me feel comfortable? Is that part of my responsibility? And, you know, do I feel icky if I have to be doing
Yeah.
that? A little bit. And so,
I feel like
you
that's
get
one of
put into
those
these
two.
situations.
It depends, right? Like sometimes, like, because I feel like as people are watching this, I'm like, my hope is there's a mix, right? Because some people are the investors, some people are in sub two, some people are not in any of the above, some people are viewing it from our standpoint where they're hearing what we're being taught in, as TCs and kind of seeing it from our eyes, if you will. Um, but I think I say it depends because sometimes I'm like, is it that I'm not willing to help you? No, that's not the case. Depending on what it is, sure, let's sit down. I mean, we offer contract consults or seller walkthroughs, things like that, where like, and again, for an additional investment, you can sit down with us and we'll go line by line and, we can kind of make sure that we're interpreting it the way you meant it to. And again, we're not offering legal advice. We're not attorneys. We're not going to be held liable for this. But I'm like, we're simply going through it and going, this is what I'm seeing. Is this what you see? Or is this what you meant?
Right.
And just kind of getting that understanding. So if somebody needs help in that sense or a quick question, like, yes, all of us are so beyond willing to help. I think like that separation of like when we say negotiations, I think it gets a little blurred. What is asking for help and what is like, you actually just want help and like, is this a good deal? Am I doing the right thing? Is this, I feel like they're looking for that confirmation of like, is this right? And it's like, is this a good amount? Things like that.
So
That's
if they
going to
say,
fall
is
into
that
what
a good
we're saying.
amount? Yeah, good
Yeah.
question. Is that a good
Yes.
amount?
Right.
You tell
No.
me.
Yeah.
You tell me. That's a really good
Yes.
question. Yeah. And
Yes.
like I think the hardest part is that us as TCs, and Ashley has talked about this a lot, right? But like we want to do everything. Like we want to like give everything to like when someone gives us a
Yes.
file, that's literally like a baby to us, and we're taking care of that baby,
Yes.
bringing that baby, to daycare and doing everything that baby
Right.
needs. And so
Yes.
it's hard to say no and to really be able to stay firm to your boundaries
Yeah.
as a TC.
Yes.
So,
Absolutely.
I mean,
And I
that's
hope
just like one
I
of
hope
those
people
parts of
I think
of
that's part of it. Like, I think it's also important to recognize, like, just what you said too, though, is like, we care so much. And I think as much as we're talking about misconceptions and like, you think it's this, it's not, or whatever, it's not to bash anybody or make you feel bad that you didn't realize this or didn't know. And even if you're somebody doing it, so what? We all mess up. We all have misconceptions. Like, this is how we learn and grow. You don't know what you don't know. But I think that's really important to mention that, like, we care so much, but that does not mean you get to take advantage of us,
mhm, mhm.
of like, there is that line there, but at the same point, this is why you should want us on your team. And not like, I'm not trying to sell us in that state, but just more of like this is where we can be valuable because we will genuinely care. Like you said, it's like a little baby. Like we literally will love it and nurture it and make sure we can do everything we can do to help you out. And I feel like that
Exactly.
goes beyond anything process wise or service wise of kind of the day-to-day like actions you're seeing us do. I'm like, you can't force somebody to care. And if we care about your deal, you can know that like they're really doing everything they can to help you. And like if they're not helping you, to please respect that this is their business, that this is the boundaries or guidelines that they've set, and or these are the services that they're offering, and that maybe just doesn't fall within those guidelines, and
Right.
like that's okay.
This is what I tell people all the time. I say, when you hire me as your TC, you are
Right.
hiring your biggest advocate, right? I'm on your
Right.
side. I'm on your corner. Like everything I do is looking out for your best interest, right?
Yep.
To make sure like legally wise, like we're all set, like you're getting charged the right amount on the HUD. They're
Mhm.
not charging you some extra fees for like who knows what. Like I'm your
Yeah.
biggest advocate. Like I'm thinking about you at the after the transaction ends. I want to make sure like, you're set up to succeed, right?
Yeah.
And sure, you can go without me. Like you don't need a TC. No one has to have a TC, but
Yes. It's not a
like
requirement.
like
It's an
in a boxing
opportunity.
match, right? You want your coach in the corner, like at the end of each round, you want to have someone to like, to uh pep you up,
Yeah.
to give you advice. It's just there's so many
Yes.
benefits beyond like what you can say, just like, oh, list what you do out for me. Like there's just so much more we do for you that can't even be described. And it's something where like
Yes.
if someone hasn't done a transaction for themselves, they might never realize the true value of a TC. Like I hear people say a lot like, "Oh man, I really screwed up. Ah man, now I know I should have gotten a TC." And
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's like the truth for a lot of people. Until you
Yes.
mess up, you don't realize you need that person in your corner. Like that
Yeah.
extra set of eyes that can save you from so many potential problems, you know?
Yeah. Absolutely. It's funny
Yeah.
you say that too, because I was just talking to somebody yesterday and we were discussing that. And um, we were sharing how I'm like, I feel like, it could be many things, but I'm like, I feel like one or two things could happen to kind of help you to see the value of a TC, if you will. Um, and I think it's just what you said. Either one, a lot of people I hear they already got screwed over and
Mhm.
they're going, never again. And now potentially you're on the other side of it and maybe your TC experience was bad, and that's unfortunate, but I'm like, hopefully that's not the case and maybe you're willing to give somebody a try. And I think that leads actually to the second side of it. I'm like, either I feel like you got screwed over and that led you to see, man, I should have double checked that, or I wish I had somebody helping me, or some assistance in just kind of navigating what the heck do I do. And I think the other side of that is sometimes like you do have to take that little step to like trust somebody, because I'm like, I do think there, and that's that gap of like, we're talking about where are we at and where can we be headed. I think that's the education side, of maybe there is that little bit of you just got to go, I'm not sure I 100% understand, but I like you and I trust you. And let's see how you can help me on this deal.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and I think that's where we're headed, honestly, is I think the more people are educated, the more people understand what we do. They have experiences to go, oh my God, that would have been such a nightmare. And they really, really helped me out, you know?
Right, right.
Um,
And I think that's what's so good about, being part of Top Tier TC. It's not
mhm.
just like being part of it, but it's
Yeah.
also the big community, that the new wave of transaction coordinators. Because I think like now with the top tier, there's more TCs than ever coming out of
Yeah.
just being churned out and getting trained by Molly and the team. And like it's really like I'm seeing like a really like a new wave, like a new standard, a new
Yeah.
normal for
Yes.
what TCs do, for the expectations of TCs, and just like the new way of creative in general, right? Because the way
Yeah.
things were done 3 years ago is not how things are going to be done 3 years from now, right? Things
Right.
change, regulations change, the market, everything's changing.
We have to
and
shift.
us as top tier TCs, I can't speak for everyone obviously, but like
Right.
we are encouraged to, and I think we probably will be soon required to continue the education so that we stay
Yes.
up to date with the best practices. And someone who joined sub 2 3 years ago and was doing things one way stops educating themselves, can be stuck in like an older way of doing things, which isn't necessarily the best way anymore. So
Right.
just kind of advocating for people, like why a top tier TC is important.
Yeah.
That's, yeah, that's just another benefit. And like I know you mentioned like I heard someone say that they had a bad experience with a top tier TC. So it's like it's
Yeah,
not saying you came out of top tier, you're perfect. But
right. That's
being
what
in
I was
top
just gonna
tier
say.
comes with the team behind it, right? So
Yes.
it doesn't screen everybody 100%. Not everyone is like an angel coming
No,
out of
I
the
feel like you
program,
still have to
but
do your due
we all have
diligence.
resources. Yeah, like we
Yeah,
all can come back with answers to like the craziest of questions. Like we have people we can
yeah,
ask. We have access to Molly and all the experiences out there. So,
yeah.
anyways, that's my
No,
soapbox.
definitely. No, I agree with you 100%. That's what I was gonna say. I'm like, I was gonna preface it was like, we clearly like very much love top tier. We are utilizing and maximizing the resources and opportunities that are being available to us because of it. I really feel like we're like all in on it. Like, I mean, I see you all the time on the stuff, and I'm like, it's awesome though, because I'm like, that's the community. We're always, in these group chats and we're on Zooms and doing all these things and we're learning together and just talking about where we're at and what's going on. Like you said, these crazy things. Um, but I feel like, yeah, it's good to mention though that like that's not the end all be all of like if they say they're top tier, you're good. Like don't be coming back to us going, well, it was a top tier. Did you talk to them at all? Did you look into it? And like, did it feel like a good fit for you? Like, no, you still like with anything, I think you have to do your due diligence. It's about finding the right fit, and even within us, like they could all be great TCs. One might fit your personality or the way your business works better than the other. And that's okay. Like we're okay with that. I feel like do your due diligence. This is not saying just because they're top tier, you're fine, you're safe. We're not guaranteeing anything. But I do think as a whole, to that point, like you said, this is creating a new normal. This is, if you had no experience, it's giving you those resources and teaching you one way. If you had past experience, it's giving you a new option, a new idea of what this could look like and why.
Hmm.
And then everything in between, obviously. But I'm like, yeah, I think it does so much more good than not. Like I've yet to find something about the community that I don't agree with, don't align with, goes
Right.
against any core values or anything. I mean, like everything they do is trying to be respecting you, respecting the other individuals that you're working with, protecting everybody, helping everybody win, staying, as ethical and legal as we can, constantly having conversations with attorneys and different professionals to ensure that we're, addressing concerns that might be around. And I just think, yeah.
Yeah. And like to add to your point,
Yeah.
like we're all human at the end of the day. Everyone's
Yes.
human. Like we all make mistakes, top tier or
Yes.
not, everyone makes mistakes. And I believe that even if someone had a bad, you know, experience with a TC, like every TC, when they take on a file, they come into it with the best of intentions, right?
Yes.
They're not in it to like screw the investor over. Like
Yeah.
they want to help the person. And if they had a bad experience, a lot of times it could be personal issues, like you said. It depends. Like, do you vibe with that person? A lot of people just had
Yeah.
a bad experience because they just don't communicate well with one another. They don't vibe with one
Right.
another, and then that energy just kind of, you know, grows and becomes a negative experience.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, when you hire a TC, you don't just hire off the bat because someone gave them a recommendation. Talk to them, right? I mean,
Yes.
I hate kind of seeing people say like interviewing their TCs or like saying how many deals have you done?
Yeah.
Those questions kind of bug me because I
Yeah. I
mean,
don't
I get
necessarily love that
understand
either.
I get like wanting to know like how much experience that person has, but
Right.
at the same time, Ashley brought this up too. I learned so much from what she
I know.
says, but
I love it.
like if someone is like super busy and they're cranking out transactions, do you really want that person to be doing your file? Like they're going to be busy. Like the chances of you getting on the phone with them is going to be a lot lower. The turnaround time for a response is going to be a lot longer versus
Yeah.
someone who is newer, who has less in their pipeline, who can give
Yes.
you a more personal experience, who can
Yes.
respond to you a lot faster and look over
Yeah.
those docs a lot faster. I mean, you don't necessarily, always want to have someone who's like that top of my name who's got everybody going to them, right?
Yeah.
So,
No.
if you like, if an investor is watching this, like if someone is newer to the, to the industry, to this field, like give them a chance. See if you vibe, because know that if they are top tier TC, even if they can't answer your question, they have, hundreds of people who can answer your question. And there's
Yes.
years and years of experience in there. And they also will have more time to talk to you.
Yeah. And I think it's immediate responses too, in the sense that, like, I mean, we're lucky enough to have people all over the place, literally all 50 states and a few outside of the states even,
Hmm.
um, with, like you said,
Canada.
varying levels of experience, varying levels of connections, um, that are willing to help too, you know? And again, like we're here to help you out, you know? Like we're not trying to make your life difficult. We're not, trying to be stubborn
It's the
and hold
opposite. We're
back
not trying to make
anything.
your life difficult.
Yeah,
We're trying to make it
right. We're trying
easier.
to actually, yeah, we want to save you time so you can get out there, get more deals, close more deals, more money in your pocket, more time in your day, and less stress on your back. Like that's that's what we're trying to do. I mean,
Yeah.
simplest form, I guess. But no, I think this is good. I think we hit some major points that are definitely very common right now of kind of what we're running into, probably on both sides, honestly.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, and
Definitely.
right now, as this new wave of TCs is kind of hitting the market, like
Yes.
we're having a lot more of these conversations of,
Yeah.
like clarifying, and that's something, I know that we're gonna have less and less of over time. Like in a
Yeah.
year, I'm sure I'm gonna be having to talk about like I'm gonna have to say like, oh, we don't negotiate, we don't fill out contracts a lot less than I do
Yeah.
now. So that's gonna
Absolutely.
be awesome. I'm really looking forward to that.
Yes. And I think the communities are doing a good job too. Because we have our, I guess, partner communities, however you want to word it, but like Sub 2 and Gator. And I think there's really being a shift too of making an effort to connect all the groups. And I also
Hmm.
think that the more we find ways to connect and kind of learn and grow together, same thing. I think it's going to raise the standard for everybody because it's just going to be a set. This is how we roll. This is how we do things, and everybody's going to win from it. We're going to know how to have these tough conversations. We're going to know how to figure this stuff out quicker and more efficiently. And yeah, I think it'll be awesome that it'll just, this is how we do it, and everybody's going to win from it. Because
Yeah.
that's the whole idea, right?
And like, having like, Molly's been kind of talking with Pace more and more about,
Yeah.
top tier and like clarifying what a TC does.
Yes.
And so,
Yeah.
now that Pace is talking about it more, like
Yes.
it's hitting more ears in the
Yeah.
community, right? Because he has a voice. He has a big voice.
Yeah. I think it's
And
all around
so,
too. I think it's the big hitters that are creating a voice and going over this stuff. And then I think the more people like us that even just, the little people, if you will, of like the more we, raise our voice and talk about
humbly
these things
small.
too. Right.
Yes.
Thank you so much. Yeah, I think the combination though of like if you hear these really well-known leaders discussing it and they're getting the message out, and then you kind of hear everybody else starting to discuss it more and more, I think that's how it just becomes, you know, more recognizable, more of just everyday talk that, like you said, it's no longer this thing people are either scared of or don't understand or confused by. It's just more common knowledge.
Right. And actually, I do want to kind of point out um,
Sure.
the kind of also conflicting side where a new thing that Pace is also talking about is like, the bridging the gap and
Mhm.
like having TC type people take on like the operator roles, like the becoming the Molly in a business. And I
Yes.
love where he's going with that, but at the same time, that's also kind of causing some additional confusion that needs like
Yes.
muddying the waters a bit
I
more.
was just gonna
Like
say it's a little murky.
it's a little bit murky because now people
Yeah.
are like, "Oh, so my TC should also be helping me they are supposed to help me fill out the contracts and be an operator and help me find leads and do all that stuff. Like all because
Yes.
Molly's doing that for Pace. Well, Molly is also like a partner with Pace. So like for me, I always have to tell people now, like, yeah, I can do that for you, but like we're gonna have to kind of take on a different role. You know, like,
Yeah.
do you want to be my JV partner? Like we can be partners in this transaction. You know, we can
Right.
split the assignment or the
We're
equity or
filling it out.
whatever.
It's because I have an interest in it because I'm now a part,
Yeah,
like I'm a partner in this business. This is
I'll be
now my
happy to
business.
fill out your contract. I'll even talk to
Yep.
the seller. I can go out and do additional things if you need me
Yeah.
to, but like as a partner, not as your TC.
Yes.
So
And
just being able to
I think that needs to
distinctify.
be a separation too, like you said,
Yes.
of understanding, you know, yes, is it possible? Absolutely. And I am curious to see, they're going to come out with a few more parts on that. And I'm kind of curious to see kind of what their suggestions are on, because that is now negotiations for us. Before, we're offering a service at a set price. Like, what does that look like? How do we, because ideally you want to make it fair to everybody. But
Yeah.
I think these things are possible. But I do think it needs to be clear that, like, it's kind of like TC work is here. We're talking about over here. You're talking about an integrator, operator, business partner,
Yeah.
not a TC service. And I'm not knocking TC services at all. I mean, they're wonderful, but it's almost like, what is the phrase they used the other day? What did I say? I think pasted someone, but it's almost like you don't pull up to McDonald's and ask for a burrito. Like, it's two different things,
Right.
you know? And I feel like as long as we understand that, on both sides going into it, it can absolutely work. But I think there has to be negotiations. You can't go into it thinking, cool, I hired a TC, and then I'm suddenly going to be setting
I'm
up your
set for
systems and
everything now,
signing
right?
contracts and
Yeah.
doing all this stuff. Like, no, no, no. It doesn't, we're talking about two separate things here. So, I
Mhm.
mean,
Mhm.
yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunity out there, though, for people to do more. Because, I mean, some people want to do this on the side or part time or things like that and don't necessarily care for that. But others, like, they would love that opportunity. So, I mean, I think it's great to at least think about, but maybe in a constructive way, like we're saying.
Yeah. And there's so
Mhm.
many different potential roles for a TC.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say for a TC, but someone who's interested in TCing or joining
Right.
top tier or just taking on the more
Yes.
integrator role. Like there's
Yeah.
so many opportunities depending on what you want to do. You can do one little part of it, another little part of it, or like all of it. You can
Right.
make this much money per month, or you can make this much money per month, depending on how much time you want to put into it and what role and
Yes.
position and responsibility you want to take in the business. And so, I mean, that's really exciting. Just
Yeah.
having
It
all
has a lot
those
of
opportunities,
flexibility.
so many
Yeah.
doors open to us.
Yes.
It's just a little bit confusing at the moment for everybody. So
Yes.
I'm
Of like,
excited to
how do
see how
we,
this evolves.
yes, figuring out better, defining our roles, and yeah, I guess, how do you define your role better? You can do all the things, but how do we switch hats in a way that it makes sense for everybody? The people aren't.
And they just came out with the top tier or the TC avatars,
Yes.
right? The
I love those.
avatars, which are like
I love
more animals. Everyone's
Mhm,
got an
more
animal
animals.
avatar. It's a freaking
Yes,
zoo out here.
right?
You
It
know,
really is. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
No,
But
yeah, I'm excited to see how those evolve too, and how people kind of find themselves identifying and stuff. Because I do think that helps also in those initial conversations of, it's like the personality test and everything else that's out there. I feel like if it's just realizing, like, what are your strengths, and then how do we pair that with other people that can maybe help you with your weaknesses, or how do I better communicate with this person?
mhm.
Are they more introverted, extroverted? Are they excited to go get on the phone and talk to people, or are they like, oh my god, please do not call me, I'd so much rather just text you or shoot me an email? I mean, it's the little things. Like, it seems simple, but I'm like, it really does help you to figure out, oh, okay, this is who you're working with, or like better set your goals and what you're doing.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. I just like to kind of bring this full circle for myself, like in my
Sure.
experience. Like
Yeah.
before I started, getting into this whole real estate industry, like I hated talking to people. I would never do this interview. I hate talking on the phone. Like talking on the
Oh, yeah.
phone freaked me out. Like even if I had to just go like call a restaurant to make a reservation or to order
You're like,
takeout,
nope.
I was like, I was going online like, do they have an online, an online store? Can I just order online? I really don't want to call in. And so
Yes.
like kind of being in this community has really helped me open up in
Yeah,
regards to being able to communicate a little bit better, right? And to be less fearful of
absolutely.
talking on the phone. And like going on like a million Zooms every single day has really,
Yeah,
made me more comfortable in that regard. So
yeah,
so I'm very grateful for the opportunity to grow in this community
yeah.
that I've had. So, that's
Absolutely.
that.
I would say the same. Yes, right? So much love to top tier. Oh my God. Yes. It really has. I would say this, it's been the same for me. I don't know that I was necessarily as fearful of like phone
Like,
calls in
oh,
that
that's
sense.
odd.
Right. But I'm like, but otherwise, yeah, I'm like, it's it's crazy to me even right now that we're filming this because I'm
Hmm.
like you said, just getting on a call or signing up and being on that Zoom and going, okay, I'm gonna turn on my camera.
I
Fine, you
know.
guys can see me. And just how much that also though has helped us to grow. And like now we're sitting here and we're like, you know what? Screw it. Let's record it and let's get this out there. Like we love this so much and are learning and growing so much that we're just like, all right, let's test the boundary. Let's try something new. Let's just go for it. We'll
Failing
see what
forward,
happens.
right?
And yeah, keep taking action.
Yeah, yeah. And like it, it makes you like more excited to make those mistakes because
Yeah.
I've made a few mistakes and like it sucks during it, but then like you
Yeah.
always see that silver lining, like that learning, the growing that you've like I'll never make that same mistake again, right?
Yeah.
And so it
That's
makes
how we
it's a nice little
learn.
silver lining. Yeah. It's awesome.
Yes. There's no such thing as failure, only learning opportunities.
Yes. Exactly.
Awesome.
Exactly.
Well, thank you so much for being here, Tiffany, and doing this with me. As scared as we are of all of this, I very
I'm
much
not
appreciate
scared. What are you talking about?
it.
This is
No, we're
awesome.
good. Professionals.
We weren't stalling trying to start this because we were afraid.
Right.
No,
I know
we
the
don't do
behind
that.
the scenes of us trying to figure out how to get this thing rolling.
Do we have to press record?
Awesome. Well,
Well,
thank you,
thank you for having
Tiffany.
me. I really
We very much
appreciate you
appreciate
having
it.
me here. Yeah,
Yes,
thank
thank you
you.
so much.